Audio check.
Why am I not getting audio? Wait. Is it plugged in? Okay, that's the wrong one. Sorry.
Audio check.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We will start our meeting. But first, just a reminder, if you want to address the board during open forum, please fill out one of these forms and hand it to Ms. Mary Lou. And I call this meeting to order. Today is Thursday, November 9th, it is 5 o'clock. If you could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Oh, sorry, one more thing. Roll call, Ms. Mary Lou.
Mr. Cano?
Present.
Mr. Castillo?
Present.
Ms. Flores? Ms. Murillo? Ms. Rodriguez?
Present.
Madam President, we have established quorum.
Okay, if we could please stand for the pledge. Thank you. Now moving on to Superintendent District updates and recognitions. Before that, if I could have Mr. Cano read the mission statement.
The Gadsden Independent School District will provide diverse education and opportunities that empower students to a successful and in an ever-changing world.
Thank you, Mr. Cano. So now moving on to Superintendent District updates and recognitions. Superintendent Dempsey.
Madam Vice President, board members, thank you for joining us this evening. The first item I have for you is New Mexico Vistas. This is the statewide assessment data, and there is a new website. What I've prepared for you is just a little view. Now these would be the assessments that were conducted last school year, and it gives you a little bit of idea. It breaks down by subject, so you have math, reading. ELs is how these are very specific categories how we're scored. ELs is how our English learners scored, and they're based on increase. I'll go through that. Science, attendance rate. CCR is college and career readiness, and then our graduation, the number there is your 4-year graduation rate. So percent proficient in math across the district is 24%. If you'll go back one, I don't have those memorized. Thank you. Compared to our neighbor just north of us, Las Cruces, at 22% proficient. Albuquerque Public Schools, 25. Santa Fe Public Schools, 23. I included some school districts smaller in size to us, but more similar in demographics. And so that would be Deming and Hatch. And their results were 17% proficient, and then Hatch with 15. For reading, our students performed at a 29% proficient. Las Cruces were a little higher than this at 33. Albuquerque, 36. Santa Fe, 34. Deming, 23. And Hatch, 26. ELs. Now let me try to explain this. You'll see that there's 2 blanks under Deming and Hatch. Their populations are so small that they're not able to sometimes list specific numbers because you risk possibly identifying a student because their populations sometimes are so small. So I just compared us to the other larger districts, and those are based on increases. So our ELs showed an 8% increase. Las Cruces, same. Albuquerque is 7, and then Santa Fe Public Schools is 6. Proficiencies in science, you see our students scored at 27% proficient. Las Cruces 35, Albuquerque 32, Santa Fe Public Schools 30, Deming 21, and Hatch 25. I'll note there, I think we all, as an academic services team, really knew, and as a leadership team, we knew this is an area we had to work on. And just an FYI for the board, Ms. Villalobos has helped us significantly, and we'll be implementing our elementary schools, a Lego program, and then our drone program in our middle school and high school. So those are pieces that we're really trying to beef up our science curriculum. And part of that is doing things that engage our students in much more hands-on behavior. And so we're hoping that'll help us. Attendance, I was presently surprised, even though I've shared with you that this is a number that's been a concern for me. Attendance and the way it's scored, this number is different than chronic absenteeism. So just a lot of times we talk about chronic absenteeism. This is the exact opposite look of chronic absenteeism. So they're looking at attendance rates, if you will, or attendance. And so we scored about a 69% attendance. Now, I sure would like to see that much higher. But it does help me, and it doesn't give me relief, but it does help me when I look at Las Cruces at a 61, Albuquerque at a 55, Santa Fe at a 50, Deming at what is Deming there, 31, and then Hatch with a 71. So I think, I'm not saying we take our foot off the gas there, but it helps me understand that we're not the only district kind of struggling to make sure we have really good attendance. I always shoot for 90 or higher, and that's our goal, and we'll keep working at it. This CCR category, something that we need to figure out a little bit. You see those numbers are significantly lower. And we think this is in part how things are being reported. Now you got to keep in mind this is really a whole new report card for us, if you will. And so we're trying to figure that out. We think it has a lot to do with how students are coded in terms of participation in specific like college CTE pathways, and then success. In the past, it's always been you had to complete 4 courses to be considered a completer. Those type measures are not quite in there right now, and so we've got to do some work to figure that out. And you can see the other districts are significantly higher. So I honestly think that's a reporting piece. I don't think our students are really that different than others, but we're going to have to do a little homework, and I'll follow up with you. And then graduation, for your graduation rates, you see that we've posted an 84% graduation rate for 4-year. Las Cruces 81, Albuquerque 78, Santa Fe 84, Deming with 73, and then a Hatch with an 84. The link there on the bottom of that slide will take you to that website, and you can look at any district in the state of New Mexico. You can look at the previous rollout of assessments, and that'll give you a little bit of a feel for what's happening and what's going on. As I will tell you, I think PED is continuing to work on this and update it, but they had to get this out to meet some federal guidelines. There's some pieces of it that are a little different than just a few months ago when they rolled it out. So we're trying to understand it a little bit, but it's something we'll get to talk about a little bit more in depth as we progress through our assessment cycles, okay? All right, thank you. Our next item, I want to welcome our student representative, Denise De Anda, who is a freshman at Alta Vista Early College High School. Welcome, Denise.
Good evening, Madam Board President Flores, school board members, Superintendent Dempsey, and guests. My name is Denise De Anda, and I'm a freshman at Alta Vista Early College High School, and it is my pleasure to report the latest on my school. First of all, our students have had several opportunities to learn outside of the classroom to broaden their horizons through various educational field trips. For the second consecutive year, our 10th grade biology teacher, Ms. Campos, took her students to Carlsbad Caverns on Friday to explore the ecosystem within the caverns. Additionally, her science club went to the El Paso Zoo to learn about venomous animals in the area on October 13th. This past weekend, our dual certified chemistry and DSCC teacher, Dr. Acuna, attended a STEM Challenge professional development opportunity in Albuquerque. We are looking forward to her sharing the information she gained there. On Saturday, Alta Vista students attended a mesa rally at Gadsden High School. Students were able to visit various booths and learn about STEM and robotics through hands-on learning. Local colleges gave information about the programs they offer and admissions information. On October 20th, the DACC music class attended the El Paso Symphony at the Plaza Theater. Students were able to see their DACC instructor, Mr. White, in a professional performance as a member of the orchestra. To welcome fall break, we had our traditional fall field day. It was a great success with designated areas run by teachers and staff for various sports competitions. We plan to bring in spring break the same way. On November 17th, we will be hosting our fall festivities, which include a newly organized Powder Puff game, followed by our annual fall festival, and ending the evening with our fall dance. Our BPA group of 20 students is preparing for regionals in December at Arrowhead Early College High School in Las Cruces, New Mexico. On October 27th, NMSU admissions came to promote their university to our seniors and answer any questions they had about the application process. Also, seniors took their cap and gown photos. We will be continuing to offer our enrichment classes as well as our state test prep in the spring semester. In closing, it has been my pleasure to have shared any updates about my school, Alta Vista Early College High School. As a student of Alta Vista Early College High School, I want to express my gratitude and appreciation for the opportunity to apply to DACC in the spring and attend my first 2 courses in the fall of 2024. The college experience I will gain at Alta Vista will help me in my future field of study in law. We thank the school board, our superintendent, and the Gadsden community for your continued support. Thank you.
Thank you, Denise. Great job.
Thank you for that. And so now we're going to move on to item number 4, board member report. And we will start with Mr. Cano, and after that, Ms. President Flores will take over. But let's begin with Mr. Castillo.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to congratulate the Gadsden football team for a great season. Took a loss that last Friday, but I'll keep my opinions about the officiating to myself. And then, most important, I would like to thank everyone that went out and voted for both the DACC bond and our bond. They passed easily, so appreciate all the help. All that's going to benefit our students. And then again, you guys got me for another 4 years, so I appreciate everybody that supported me, that went out there and voted for me. I guess God wants us to stay the course, and as long as I'm here, you guys got me for 4 more years. I'll roll up my sleeves because I plan to retire for real. I plan to retire for real after this, so I appreciate, again, everybody, your sincere prayers, definitely your votes and your support. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Cano.
Good evening. First of all, I'd like to start off, and I also was running out for my seat. I'd like to thank Mr. Jaramillo's team and Ms. Nunez's team who were running for Sunland Park candidates for City Hall. And I want to thank them for their hospitality and for taking me in, taking a straggler in, and helping them out with the voting situation and working it. Most of all, I want to thank my campaign team, which entitled my wife, Rosa Maria Mezcano, my son, Armando, Alejandro, and Aidan, for standing out there in the wind and in the sun. Thank God it wasn't really bad, and I thank them very much for their support in the campaign run that we did yesterday. Unfortunately, they didn't come out to our favor, but that's okay. It happens. I think as a parent, I can do more as a parent than I can as a board member. That's always been my motto. That's how I started, and that's how I'm going to go back. I'm going to be going back with my head up high, proud, get ready to work while I've got, one of my boys will be graduating next year, and then I've got my other one that I'm going to support throughout for the next 4 years. So I'll be doing my next 4 years as a parent. Love it. I want to say congratulations to Mr. Lira. He will be your new District 1 board member. I also want to congratulate Mr. Danny. I was watching your race really close. It was really close, and I'm glad you guys pulled that. And Miss Claudia, pues, I guess you didn't have a problem, but that's okay. I'm glad that you made it. I want to wish this board successful next 4 years. I'll be watching. Most of all, I also want to congratulate, ditto back on what Danny said with the Gadsden football team. Awesome. All of our teams that I've seen have improved 110-fold, and I hope it keeps going. And they just got a taste of it. Next year, they're going to get the full meal, and it goes for all of our sports, and hopefully we'll just keep up. But for right now, that will conclude my report. Thank you.
All right, so I will continue, and then Ms. Flores will give her report. Well, first of all, thank you for our student rep. As you can see, there's many great things happening, as I always mention, but, hearing her say that they went to Carlsbad Cameras, they went to the zoo, they went to the symphony, those are things that our kids need to be a part of. They need to see more than, just the Anthony area, the Sunland Park area, the Chaparral area. There's many things out there. So I really like to hear those things, that you're being exposed to all of that, and that's wonderful. So thank you for that report, and thank you for being here. And now I think I'm gonna, go with what Mr. Castillo and Mr. Cano were saying. Thank you for everyone that went out and voted. Yes, I didn't have an opponent, but I do want to encourage everyone to think about it. Having this seat is about making progress in the district. So if you're willing to do that, to commit into making changes, being part of that change, because first of all, we're only one voice. I'm only one voice. There's 5 of us here. But working, to make things better for our kids, I think that's what everyone's goal, everyone that is here has that goal. So again, I would like to encourage anyone that would like to run. In 2 years, there's gonna be 2 other seats that are gonna be open or running. And so please, think about it, and if you want to be part of the change, please join. And I just want to say that over at, I know that a lot of the schools have had the veterans, they recognize the veterans. I was able to attend the North Valley one. I was invited as a board member, and it was very nice. I saw many great things happening there. There was a video that had people that were either, whatever, it was Air Force, Navy, whatever it was that they were part of. And so it's great to see the passion that those ladies and gentlemen have for our country. And so thank you for that. Please enjoy the day, Veterans Day. Remember, there's people that are making sacrifices so that we can have this freedom, right? And we can have the many things. Voting is another thing, right, that they really work hard for. And so, like I said, I was part of the North Valley, or I went to the North Valley celebration, and they did give out certificates to all of the people that, again, have been veterans or are veterans. And I'm honored to say that our superintendent is one of them. And so I have a certificate that North Valley sends. I know he's super busy, but this is for him, and thank you for your service. So yes, that is super amazing, and thank you, Mr. Dempsey. He was one of the ones that was part of that video, and hearing him say how he was able to, what those 4 years were for him and how it helped him with what he's doing currently, and it's interesting to say, right, that he saw it, that it helped him become a teacher, right, or it helped in many ways. So that's awesome, and again, well, there's a Coffee with the Superintendent coming up next Tuesday. So parents, please join in. That's the way you're gonna know what's happening within the district. And your input is always welcome. Again, when this is open, it's because we wanna hear the good and the not so good, right? Like what changes need to be made. But unless we're aware of it, or unless you bring it to the table, we don't know. And I've said it, going into social media and posting stuff there is not gonna make a change. Rather than doing that, come to the people that really can make a change. So talking to the superintendent when there's that Coffee with the Superintendent is a great place, and also when there's Coffee with the Principals. That is at a local level, right, or campus level. So please join those meetings so that, again, you know what is happening, and you can also give information or even ideas of what can be done, what like programs or activities such as the veterans, what can be different. So thank you for that, and I know that today was the Thanksgiving dinner at the schools. I hear that it was a success. Of course, there's gonna be little flaws here and there, but you know what, the kids really enjoyed it. I know my child was super excited about it being Thanksgiving dinner. So thank you for everyone that helped and worked at those cafeterias. I heard that one of them was almost like she was welcomed by that, being the manager. So it's difficult, but hey, she was able to handle it. So thank you everyone for that. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mrs. Rodriguez. Good evening, everybody. Sorry I was late. I was in an IEP meeting that kind of finished late, so that's why I'm late. But good evening again. Thank you for joining us this evening. I'd like to start off by congratulating Mr. Castillo and Mr. Lira, and thank you for your service, Mr. Cano. And we will continue seeing you, hopefully in the audience too, maybe in open forum, but I know that you will always be an advocate for students. So thank you and congratulations, Ms. Rodriguez, and thank you for reconsidering running again. And yes, she's right. In 2 years, Arlene Murillo and myself will be up for re-election if we decide to do that. But if anybody who's interested, please come and ask us. We're here to answer questions because 2 years seems like a far away time, but it's actually going to be here faster than we know it. So I'd be more than happy. I know that my colleagues would be more than happy to sit with you all and tell you what is the realities of this position, because it does take a lot of time and commitment. And so if you're interested, by all means, start looking at the opportunity of serving your community in such a form. I also want to thank our community of Gadsden and also the Las Cruces community, all of Doña Ana and Otero also, because I think the ACC also serves the Otero County. Thank you so much for your support for passing the bond and also for supporting our district bond as well. Thank you so much. I'd also like to thank this evening all of our cafeteria workers, I know, and Miss Maria back there. Thank you for all the hard work and preparation it takes in order to have Thanksgiving lunch. It's a beautiful event. I had my own at my school, and so it's wonderful to see the families and the kiddos, and so thank you for all your help. And to all the volunteers that go out to help our cafeteria workers serve, thank you so much. And parents, thank you for coming out and supporting our kiddos, and thank you to the families that come out and adopt like a kid or two or maybe several. For working parents that can't come up, I know sometimes they get sad, but thank you so much, those of you who welcome the little kids that don't have, their parents there because they're working. So thank you so much. Let's see. Last Saturday, there was 3 football games that I was interested, of course, Cowboys and who else? And Gadsden. And then, even though we lost with those, I did get to participate in flag football. I love sports, and so I want to thank Coach Scott. He's at Sunrise Elementary. He invited me out there. This is the second time, so I went, and he surprised me because he brings a bright neon pink shirt, and he goes, "Put this on, Miss Flores." And I'm like, okay, so I put it on. I got to play flag football with 6th grade students, the girls against boys, and it was fun. And I fell, and I think one of the little kids ran into me, and I'm like, but that was a penalty on him, not me. So I was like, I didn't hurt him. But it was so much fun. And so thank you, Coach Scott, for all you do. It's a wonderful opportunity. And it's a wonderful opportunity for girls because we can play football, and, it is a contactless sport, so, it keeps us from maybe getting injured. But it's an avenue for our female athletes to show their skills with regards to football. And then I want to remind seniors, I think right now is the time for admission where they need to apply. And so, apply and then work with your counselors to see the opportunities you have for scholarships, because before you know it, May will come around and you'll be graduating. And so that way you're ready. And if you choose not to go to college, there's, 4-year college, there's also DACC or whatever the future holds, but work with your counselors so that they can guide you. And then, let's see. Thank you again for all of you who went out to vote. Now, if you didn't get to vote because you weren't 18 yet, you'll be turning 18 pretty soon, so our students who are turning 18, don't forget to register to vote so that you can participate in next year's election. And then finally, just a reminder to all our public, as we begin our fall sports, go out and support our kids. Win or lose, we're here for our kids. And with that, I conclude my report. Okay, so moving on to agenda item number 5, our human resource report. That is only there for public knowledge. No action is required on behalf of the board. Moving on to modification of the agenda, do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion that we accept the agenda as is.
Mr. Castillo has made a motion to accept the agenda as is. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all opposed, motion passes. Moving on to item 7, our regular school board minutes for October 26, 2023. Do I hear a motion?
Madam President, I'll make a motion to accept the regular school board meetings on October 26, 2023.
Mr. Cano has made a motion to accept our agenda item 7. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all opposed, motion passes. Moving on to consent agenda. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion that we accept the consent agenda.
Okay, Mr. Castillo has made a motion to accept the consent agenda. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to open forum. Ms. Delgado, do we have any speakers this evening?
Madam President, we have none.
Thank you, Ms. Delgado. Okay, so moving on to action items. We do have 2 this evening. Our first one is 10A, GISD Wellness Policy JL. Superintendent Dempsey.
Madam President, board members, Ms. Guerra is going to help us with this item.
Okay, there, better? Okay, sorry. So I'm here to present for action the additional of language that we need to add to our GISD Health and Wellness Policy. And the language that we are adding is just a little plea saying that the district will support use of local product in our schools. This is a requirement for the New Mexico Grown Grant that we do participate. So that's all I have to present. You have any questions, comments?
Any questions, comments, or concerns from Ms. Guerra? No? Do I hear a motion?
I'd like to make,
What?
Madam President, I'd like to make a motion to accept action item 10A, the GISD Wellness Policy JL.
Ms. Rodriguez has made a motion to accept action item 10A. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Ms.
Thank you.
Guerra. Have a good evening.
You too, thank you.
Okay, moving on to action item 10B, special board meeting. Superintendent Dempsey.
Madam President, board members, let me try to explain this, and I'm just going to read what I wrote on the cover sheet. Due to delays associated with New Mexico Public Education Department's novice staff understanding of the disbursement process and allowing adequate time for GISD's finance department to assign accurate line items, I'm requesting that the board consider a special board meeting for Tuesday, I don't know if I have that date right, Tuesday, November 14th, 2023, to approve budget adjustment requests for the previously approved employee leave buyback. And so what's happened here is there's a process that has to go through, and we didn't get all the items by this time. And so in order to keep us back on process to distribute this in December, I'm asking for that special meeting on Tuesday.
Any questions, comments, or concerns? So I am seeing, sir, that it was moved from, proposing 5 p.m. instead of 4:30? I think. I know.
5 o'clock, 5 o'clock, I'm sorry.
Awesome. And then would there be the opportunity if some of us needed to like Zoom in or Google Meet?
Absolutely, we could do an online option if that's easier for everybody, and we'll make sure that's available for board members.
Okay, so just make sure if that's an option for you, communicate that to Mr. Dempsey.
What'll help me if you'll just text me if you think that will work for you, and I'll make sure that we have somebody available to support you in that.
Okay, awesome. Okay, with that being said, if there's no questions, comments, or concerns, do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the special board meeting for November 14th at 5 p.m. with the addition just in case we need a link.
Mr.
For the
Cano.
meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Cano. Mr. Cano has made a motion as stated. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? The motion passes. Moving on to discussion items, 11A, our 2024-25 school calendar. Superintendent Dempsey.
Madam President, board members, Mr. Wogomuth is going to help us with this item.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent Dempsey. I will have the electronic presentation, but some old-fashioned paper for you as well.
Thank you.
Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent Dempsey, we are continuing with our calendar process for the upcoming 24-25 school year. Mr. Duggan, next slide, please. Just a reminder of the purpose or the goal of our calendar development is to prioritize and maximize student learning opportunities, along with supporting teachers for teaming and planning. Next slide, please. A reminder of the timeline of input that we have set forth. We are on bullet number, down here, drafts presented to the school board on 11-9. We have had input meetings with our equity council, with our support trenches, with our teacher trenches, with school administrators. And so took that information from the survey we presented last time and have developed it into a couple of drafts to look at this evening. After discussion tonight, we'll make any final adjustments to the drafts, hopefully go to some voting by our stakeholders the week after Thanksgiving, and then bring back to you for possible action our selected calendars on the 7th of December. Next slide, please. Remember, big priorities and considerations as we're doing this. I always like to remind folks, we want to make sure we keep our existing collaboration time for teachers. We want to make sure our planning time aligns with our Marzano's framework. We want to see how best to use our professional development days and how to support new teachers. Next slide. Again, we always have to keep in mind our legislative requirements. No big changes anticipated this year. Our DACC and MSU calendars, our local trends in calendars, our currently reserved UTEP graduation dates, which I'll show you a little bit later, reviews by GISD, HR, and Finance. And I've linked here for you at a later opportunity for you to review some of the parameters and information that we did share with our working groups to develop these drafts. Next slide, please. I'm going to talk about the draft calendars here in a moment, but when we come back for action, we're also going to be asking for action for our out-of-school time programs. We haven't discussed these yet, As you know, the last couple years we've done our Jumpstart programs in the summer. You can see listed for this summer the 8 days in June. That is a PED requirement that the board do approve those out-of-school time opportunities as well. This school year, or for next school year, when we come back for action, we're going to be proposing these days of June 3rd through 12th. These are required to be included in calendar discussions with the board as well. So we're going to go over the regular drafts here in a moment, but also note that when we come back in December, we are going to continue to request the board approve out-of-school time activities in the summer for our Jumpstart program. Next slide. Okay, so what you see on these 3 links are what we have prepared for you in these handouts. Sometimes it's easier to see here. Mr. Duggan, can you click on the first one that says comparisons? So when you're looking at this comparison chart here, and when we look at the 2 drafts that you have in hand and the 2 drafts that we'll share up here, I think the important thing that we'd like the board to know is that there's a lot of similarities in both of these calendars, especially when it comes to the perspective of a parent and a student. So on the left-hand side, you'll see what both of these calendar versions have in common, right? The start of the teacher year, fall break, Thanksgiving break, the end of the semesters, the start of the spring teaching semesters, the single-day holidays, the spring break, the end of the year, the required parent conference days. We are going to include in both calendars this year up front 2, as we had to do at the last minute last year on the parent conference days in September and February. We had to add a virtual learning day for our secondary students. We're going to go ahead and include that up front because based on our calculations with the NMPED hours calculator, it does appear that those are going to be a requirement. So we're going to go ahead and request that those do get approved, and we'll monitor our procedures on how we do those days when we do another one in February. And if we have the opportunity to remove that after the PED calculator officially comes out, we may come to approve that, but we think it's better to put that up ahead as a likely virtual learning days for high school and middle school on that day, as well as 8 PD teacher days, 180 total days, and early out Wednesdays. So again, the reason why there's so many similarities this year is that oddly enough, the way the dates work out in the dates work out in the calendar, we have some nice beginning and ending starting points, where you start Christmas, where you end Christmas. Sometimes there's a little flexibility in that because you're not sure what the best date is, but very clearly when you look at the calendar for next school year, there's some pretty good defined points. So that's why there's a lot of commonalities. And second, as I'll mention at the end, what we hear a lot, especially from our parents and our students is, and to an extent teachers and staff, they do like the consistency of when we're starting, when we're ending, how long the breaks are. It really makes it easy for planning. So that's why there's a lot of consistency in those 2. When I go over the differences here shortly on the 2 drafts, the major differences really have to do with the distribution of the teacher professional development days. This was kind of an important discussion we were having relative to teacher requests and making sure we're prepared for instruction. And so, Mr. Duggan, if you can go back to the slide and click on calendar 1. I want to show you real quick, and you have that in your packet as well, but I want to make sure if Mr. Duggan can bring that up for the public. So this is calendar 1, and you'll notice on your calendar the green days that you see on the calendar. Those are the teacher professional development days. We have a total of 8 PD days and then 2 work days in yellow that we work with the union on. On this calendar 1, all 6 of the 8 green professional development days are in July. There had been a request from teachers and staff to say, hey, we need a little bit more of our PD days up front. So that's the reason for the placement of this. You'll see in January, there are 2 PD days in January at the start of semester 2. For a long time, we've had 4 in January. Based on what we've learned the last couple of years, the need is not to have 4 in January because we're already kind of in the flow of things, and the need seems to be what do we do with some days elsewhere. So that's the situation with those. And of course, the start of the school year on this first one is August 31st due to the PD days. But as Mr. Duggan kind of scrolls through these and you look on your packet, it's not that important. You can see on the rest of this calendar a lot of those commonalities. Just at a glance, the days in black are days off. You'll notice Election Day, of course, is off as a requirement. You'll see the single-day holidays. You'll see fall break. You'll see spring break. You'll see Thanksgiving break. And so those are things that are going to be similar on both calendars. Okay, so that is draft one, calendar draft one. And Mr. Duggan can go back and show calendar draft two, and you'll see the differences in PD days on this one. So calendar draft two, we asked the teachers, and this was a result of the survey as well. Some of them said, it might be better if we spread some of the PD days out, okay? So that's kind of what this reflects. Again, from a parent and student perspective, not much difference except for the start of the school year. But at this one, you'll see the green, 4 green PD days at the start of the year, 1 green professional development day in November, if Mr. Duggan can scroll up a little bit there. That one, we strategically kind of put there in that weird Monday before Election Day, so the kids would already be off on the first, right? Then they're off. Then if they had PD, they wouldn't come to school. Then they wouldn't come for Election Day. They come back on Wednesday. So that gives the kids and families a little bit of a break. And then, of course, in January, you'll see 2 in the start of January, which is the same as calendar 1. And then we took 1 and we moved a PD day in replacement of early out day in February. So at the essence, those are the major differences for the calendars, really more of an instructional and preparation lens. We in our survey, when we've talked to students and our parents and teachers and other groups informally, these are calendars that they say, you know what, we can see the reason for both of these from a school purpose, and these are things that either one would be workable towards what we're trying to do as a district. And then finally, on the bottom of the front sheet where it says comparisons, we've just made some notes here on where things align with other school district calendars. Just for your information, EPISD last year did approve calendars for 2 years, so their 24-25 calendar is already approved and available. So we've made some mention here of what aligns exactly. That is to be determined for the other local school districts. They don't have any drafts out or anything quite yet, though we expect them to come out soon. However, if recent trends for the last couple of years remain the same, we will have alignment on our fall break and spring break with at least one of their fall or spring breaks. Our little outlier there is a little bit of LCPS because their current year-round calendar is quite different than other year-round calendars in the area with the start date. Not sure what LCPS is going to choose to do with their calendar this year, but more than likely with our local El Paso districts, there should be overlap and at least 1 week on the long breaks. Okay, if you can go back to the major presentation there, Mr. Duggan, and we'll do our last conclusionary slides, and then I'll try to respond to any clarifications or questions. I wanted to make sure we put up here, and I put it in big letters here, these are the reserved and tentative 2020, I can't believe I'm saying this, 2025 dates and times. Again, with the comprehensive high schools in May, we've started to put them on a kind of a rotating basis, right? So not everybody's the same time. So this year, there's a rotation. This is looking forward into a proposed rotation for 25. You can see when those are scheduled, tentative and reserved to take place. Next slide, please. Final thoughts, and I think, again, I'm going to always refer back to this. Parents and oftentimes staff, they do appreciate the consistency in the basic calendar structure from year to year. Remember, whenever we put these calendars out, when it comes to early out days and those type of things, sometimes those early out days occur on different days of the week for Alta Vista and Desert Pride, because those campuses are unique campuses and have unique needs. There's always, based on the feedback today and anything we kind of find here with a finance or HR review again, for another time, there could be some minor tweaks that we have to make on the calendars prior to voting before we come back for action. But I don't expect those to materially change what we're sharing with you this evening. And then I mentioned our last step here is to submit it to the stakeholders on the week after Thanksgiving. I think that's all I have to share with you. Are there any questions or clarifications I can provide, or any input you need us to consider as we try finalize this?
Are there any questions or comments from Mr. Dudley?
I have one question,
ahead,
Madam President. For the early out Wednesdays, why was it that it's a Wednesday? And not not on a Friday, not on a other day?
Madam President, members of the board, Superintendent Dempsey. So when we first looked into our early out Wednesday procedure, right, when we were first investigating this, the districts that we spoke with, representatives in state, out of state, they started with Wednesday because that was the way that you kicked it off to make sure you had the best staff attendance and the best student attendance. So what they shared with us and felt that it really created what was more of a kind of a regular week where everybody is attending and understanding. Hey, it's important that you are here. Believe it or not, when you do an analysis of the days of the week and attendance on the days of the week, Wednesdays are not the most poorly attended day of the week. Unfortunately, it continues to be Fridays and Mondays. And so, we need to make sure that those Fridays and Mondays that already have a weaker attendance, that we keep those strong full days as not for people to think, okay, well, I'm really only going to come to school 4 days a week now. So I think probably with our people that we learn from and what we've seen so far in the data, that is why in most cases we continue to have them on Wednesdays. You notice a couple of days in September and February that's bumped up against the parent conferences in blue. Those are on Thursdays, early outs, but that was kind of as a request of the principals and parents as those days are finishing up and kind of leaving for a longer weekend since there's no school on Fridays. You're welcome.
Any further questions? Thank you, sir. Have a good
welcome.
evening. Okay, moving on to discussion item 10B, special education audit, Superintendent Dempsey.
Madam President, board members, I just want to give you an update on the audit and the process. We have completed, the audit has been completed. It included interviews, a file review, a review of our staffing model, surveys, data analysis, salary schedule study, and job descriptions. Our next step in this, and really once you understand this is now evolved a little bit to a procurement process. So I got to be a little bit careful. These are sometimes this process can get a little pricey, and I have some limits. And once I hit certain limits, I have to do some other things. And this other thing is I anticipate working with our finance department. We'll be probably posting a RFP, which is a request for proposal. The request for proposal should be out by January. And the goal being, we'll then advertise and ask people to propose on an action plan, development of an action plan to make changes, to make appropriate changes based on the results of the audit. So we're going to kind of have some outside agency helping us walk through this piece, and they obviously have to have significant experience in special education. Questions?
Questions, comments? So, I do have a question. I know you're going to get later on more detail, but in the interviews, in the, I guess, data analysis, did we ask our special education teachers, because this has been brought up in open forum before as far as, stipends or more time, and I think you had mentioned something like that at a previous board meeting. Did that come up, and where are we? Because also I've had constituents that are employees asking, so what have we decided? And I said, well, I'll ask this evening as far as if that pertains to this audit.
Madam President, board members, I don't recall that item coming up in this audit. What I can tell you is my participation with the LESC and that budget review that I just finished up, I think my 6th meeting last week or 2 weeks ago, significant conversation around possibility of SPED stipends. And so you're probably what I would shift a little bit gears to say that's a state level, and I and I'm going to say there were significant conversations around that possibility from a state level. So I think I'm going to say that's encouraging. And knowing that the state budget is significantly higher again, I think there's some real possibilities now. Now, LESC will begin to roll out their budget proposal in the next few weeks. So we'll be able to take a look at that and see what they propose in it.
Thank you. Any further questions, comments? Okay. Thank you, sir. Moving on to discussion item 10C, our quarterly budget report for the month ending September 30th, 2023. Superintendent Dempsey.
Madam President, board members, Ms. Villarreal is going to help us with this item.
Good evening, President Salazar Flores, Superintendent Dempsey, board members. I bring forth our September 30th quarterly report. We got through the first quarter already. That was fast. So our operational fund revenues as of September 30th, 2023 were $40,526,558, which represents 25.19% of budgeted revenues. Our operational fund expenditures as of September 30th, 2023 were $31,293,732, which represents 14.42% of budgeted expenditures. The September 30th, 2023 operational fund cash balance before loans was $75.6 million. The cash balance after the temporary loans of $7.2 million to the grant funds was $68.3 million. The total revenue for all funds as of September 30th, 2023 was $76,249,588. Our total expenditures for all funds as of September 30th, 2023 was $62,147,98. Our direct instruction expenditures plus encumbrances for our operational fund as of September 30th were $89.6 million, or 63.95% of the total operational fund expenditures. We have on our Exhibit A the total outstanding reimbursements for September 30th, which are $9,560,964.62. And I stand for any questions.
Any questions? No? Okay. No questions this evening. Thank you so much. Have a good evening. Okay, moving on to item 12 in our agenda, upcoming board meetings and events. Just a reminder that we do have our next board meeting Thursday, December 7th, and our deadline for requesting items to be added to the agenda is November 27, 2023. And then we'll be attending the New Mexico School Board Association Annual Convention. That's going to take place November 30th through December 20th. And then I did contact Mr. Dempsey, and I just wanted you all to know that since Mr. Lita will be joining us in January, I asked him to extend the invitation for the gentleman to attend the NMSBA convention in December, because also that's at the point where they will swear him in at that level, although we'll still do a swearing in here locally. Okay. And then, let's see. And then, reminder that we will have our legislative primer event in December. Do we have a date?
December 5th, 2023 at 5:30 p.m. I'm sorry?
Location?
Gadsden High School.
And then all three culinary programs will be helping? Okay,
Correct.
awesome. Any questions regarding those events? No? Yes, no? 5:30 p.m. on December 5th, which will be when we come back from, where are we going, Albuquerque?
Right.
Albuquerque.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, for our convention. And then now we're gonna, do I hear a motion? Moving on to closed session.
Madam President, I make a motion to we go closed session, limited, which includes A, limited personnel matters pursuant to 10-15-1, H-2, open, of the Open Meetings Act of NMSA 1978, attended for superintendent and associate superintendent report. which includes employee on administrative leave with pay, employee grievances, employee issues.
Thank you, Mr. Cano. Mr. Cano has made a motion that we enter into closed session. Ms. Delgado, can you please take roll call?
Mr. Cano? Mr. Castillo?
Aye.
Ms. Flores?
Aye.
Ms. Rodriguez?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. We are now in closed session. Folks, have a good evening, and y'all have a happy Thanksgiving. We're 1 week away. Enjoy your